Hello, my name is Dan Bruno. I'm with the Teaching Shakespeare Institute 2014, and I'm here to talk to you about a program called Curriculet. It's a web-based tool that you can use to enhance student reading at home through a number of different types of texts, including the plays of Shakespeare. This is the Curriculet homepage. On here you can find a 1 minute and 33-second video that will kind of give you the details about how Curriculet works and how we are able to layer questions and various types of annotations into the text of any book that Curriculet has available. These either come pre-written or you can make your own, and what we're going to look at today is how to make your own in terms of setting up questions for students, and then how to kind of look at the feedback that you get from those questions you set up. First thing you obviously have to do is sign in, and that's, you make your account and then you go ahead and sign in through your Curriculet login, and then you're in your library, and you can see there's a number of things here in this library, a number of texts. All of them are fairly public domain works. This is a news story, but the public domain works are available to use at your leisure. I've gone ahead and already started us a Curriculet, but you can just click Create Curriculet right here, and it'll ask you just to say a few words about it and set it up. I'm creating a Curriculet just for Act 2 and Scene 4 of Romeo and Juliet to help guide my students through that act and scene. Alright, the first thing we have to do when we start a Curriculet is, of course, to go into it. You click Edit Curriculet to enter the Curriculet, and you'll end up with what looks very much like an e-reader page. This is a text of Romeo and Juliet sponsored by Feed Books, an open source public domain website that allows access to public domain works. Students can use the arrow keys to transition between pages, or they can use this arrow in the bottom corner to, click through the pages like anything else. So, looking at the text of the play, we want to make sure we get to Act 2, Scene 4, so we go up here, click on the C in the top corner. Again, in case you didn't see that, it's up here, the top C. And you can go to Table of Contents, Act 2, and scroll till you get to Act 4. This becomes a lot easier once you actually add what's called a checkpoint in when you get your questions and your signposts, because they'll actually be able to navigate by those, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, so here we are, Act 2, Scene 4. This is, the scene where Romeo returns from having spent the night, balconying it up with Juliet, and he's in love and a different guy now that he's fallen actually in love as opposed to whatever he thought he had with Rosalind. And so, depending on how you want to play the scene with your students or how you want to kind of direct their thinking about it, what your theme might be, you can do all kinds of things. And the first thing I'm going to show you is an annotation. Mercutio has that line about Romeo changing, and he even makes a statement about Petrarch here. And so it might be beneficial, you just click and hold the mouse on the word to add an annotation for students about Petrarch and what a Petrarchan lover is. So we open up our annotation window, and then we go to another tab and look for a web resource on Petrarch. I happen to know there's a great PBS website on Petrarch. Pull the link, say something about like Petrarch is considered the father of the sonnet. He wrote Italian sonnets which gave rise to subsequent forms. To learn more about this innovative poet and why he wrote 300 sonnets to a woman he never even met, check out the content below. And when you put that URL in there, it's actually going to create a nice looking preview link, and once it's in there, you can just go ahead and ditch the rest of this. And ta-da! We got a great picture here in Search for Shakespeare. We've got the title of the article linked right there, a little bit about Petrarch that kind of piques their interest, all tied to this one word in the text, which will give them a nice, rich reading experience at home. You'll recall earlier that I mentioned checkpoints. This is one of those right here, this blue thing. That's the annotation we just made. If we click that, the annotation pops out. Okay, the same thing pops up when it comes to questions. Perhaps you want to ask a multiple choice or even an open-ended question. Both of these can be inserted in the text here. Perhaps you want to ask a question just for keeping things on track. Maybe you ask one of those famous pronoun antecedent questions where you say, 30 lines ago, Shakespeare referenced some noun, and now he's saying it. What does the it stand in for? Or perhaps you want to say something more open-ended, perhaps something about, what change does Mercutio recognize in Romeo? And so you would find that particular line and add that question there, just as we did with the annotations. To insert a question, all you must do is hover your mouse over a word, hold down the button until it flashes like that, highlight the text, then you can add a question. Here you can do a couple things. You can either use your multiple choice question, or if you want to have an open-ended question, you can choose that. And you might write something like, why does Romeo change? How does Romeo change? The responses to your question will be gathered by the program into a feedback format where you can see what each student's response was and even assign grades or provide feedback of your own. Returning to the library screen will allow you to access the feedback from your assignments. So if you go up here, you can see assignments is right here. You click on that, click on the class you're looking for, and then there's the list of assignments provided. This was a in-class reading I had students do on Harrison Bergeron. And here are the reports that are generated by these things, these questions you generate, and various other aspects of the. So here's the report that's generated from the Curriculet. Quizzes and other questions are tallied up. I'm not going to scroll any further on this screen because students' names are listed there, so I'm going to try to, not try to infringe on FERPA. But if we go to by question, I can scroll down, and you can see that you're even given, the breakdown by question, percent of students that got it correct, percent incorrect, and then the standard that that particular question was tied to. I've shrunken the recording window just a bit, just so the students' names aren't exposed because they are, identified by name here. But essentially, what you do is you click on this to say yes, you got it, or no, you're not quite got it, and then you automatically must leave a comment if you say you've not got it. Okay, but there's also a space to provide additional comments here. So there's a lot of opportunity to interact with students and their work. That just by adding some questions into a text they're already reading, you're really making your feedback much more meaningful because it's tied right there to the text they're looking at. One final aspect of Curriculet to know about before I sign off here is the store. In the store you can buy all the different types of books, things that are free, things that are not free. It'll tell you what you've already purchased in your library. It'll give you other options. You can break it down by grade level because the curriculums are written for grade levels. There are texts in Spanish, so if you have Spanish speakers, you can assign some works that way. There's history-centered curriculets. There's drama, there's poetry, short fiction. You can read this list. It's a lot. And so I really recommend taking time to really look in the store, see what you read in your course, see what's available here, see if you might be able to really reap the benefits of having your assessment integrated so closely with the text that you will not have to, find additional stuff to do on top of that. You can do your reading checks as they go, so that you don't have to spend, the valuable class time that we have so little of, taking, essentially the temperature of the class to see who's done what. I really hope this is something that you are piqued by, your curiosity is piqued, and that you really want to try out some new things, and that you really get in and get a chance to try out the possibilities.